Hello, and welcome to Spotlight on Local Artists, sponsored by Charlotte County Libraries and History. I'm Judy Domzalski, your presenter today, and joining me is Carolyn Walega, formerly from Massachusetts, currently residing here with us in Florida. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about this beautiful set of paintings behind us.
It's a diptych. It's called Banana Ballet, and it's painted in acrylic on Red Star Chinese paper. I also worked in charcoal on it as well.
Could you point out the charcoal
Sure.
areas?
Up there you can see it.
Yes.
You can see the lines kind of curving down. That's why I named it that, because the arching, the sort of arabesques and curves of the banana tree leaves really appealed to me. And also, one thing about this piece, I love the banana trees in Florida, but my husband and I took a trip to Madeira, which is an island off of Portugal, and it it was there that I saw the arrangement of trees that I painted. It came from there.
I like the title of the painting with the word ballet in there. What made you think of ballet as a title for this?
Well, it's the kind of arabesques and pirouettes that some of the leaves seem to be performing. You know, the shapes of the leaves and the way they droop and fall downwards.
Exactly. What do you like particularly about the Chinese paper that you're using in the background?
Well, the paper is, it has a certain texture to it. I mean, it's smooth, but it has a certain, when you draw on it with charcoal, it feels a certain way, and it kind of stays there. The parts that don't crumble off. But it also, it's not rice paper. It's a different type of paper, and it comes in different thicknesses. And this isn't the thickest of them, but it's just something that I like working on.
It's a lovely effect. And acrylics, do you always paint with acrylics?
It's my primary medium. I sometimes work in, well, I have worked in oils and watercolors, but I'm more of an acrylic painter at this point.
Carolyn, you have a very impressive background in art, education-wise. Could you address that for us a little bit?
Sure. I went to the Boston Museum of Fine Art, School of the Boston Museum of Fine Art, for my foundation year. And I finished my bachelor's degree at a small art school in New Bedford, Massachusetts, called Swain School of Design. And it no longer exists. It kind of got combined with the local university, but it was a wonderful art school. I also received a second bachelor's in art education from what was then Southeastern Massachusetts University. And I went to the same school, which is now called the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth, UMD, for my master's. I was in the master's program there. I didn't quite finish my master's degree.
How would you think that your painting is between the two places that you've lived and painted? How would you describe the differences in style?
Well, the Florida presents a wonderful opportunities for someone who paints the types of things that I paint.
Right.
I do like to paint a lot of trees and leaves and flowers, vegetation, fruit, or vegetables. The first painting that I did of that nature, not just of nature, but that type of painting was a white geranium that I painted in Massachusetts. And for some reason, I just had to paint a white geranium at that time, and it kind of influenced a lot of my work since. So moving to Florida, banana trees and pineapple plants, you name it, everything's a different shape. The colors are a little bit different, the light's brighter. Palm trees, which was almost forbidden to paint a palm tree when I was in art school, because our concept of palm trees is a stereotype. So when you actually look at one, they're actually quite amazing. And they're all different types, as I'm sure you know.
Yes, that's part and parcel of living in Florida. But I think I hadn't really seen a palm tree until I moved down here. And what surprised me was the different greens in the palm tree. And each one is different, but within the palm tree itself, you have all different shadings of green. So you found the same thing, I'm sure.
I did.
And you definitely bring that out.
Thank you. That was my goal, was to find the different tones and types of greens, and whether they're warm greens, sort of yellow, or whether they're cool greens that are more blue or purple.
Yes, exactly. My favorite color, actually, since I moved to Florida. Carolyn, who are the biggest art influences, would you say, in your art world?
Well, there have been a few, both first-hand and second-hand kind of influences, between teachers that I've had who were pretty wonderful, impressive painters in their own right, and artists that I've just seen in museums or read about in books or looked at their works in reproductions or museums. As far as teachers, I studied with Lux T. Feininger, who was the son of Lionel Feininger, who was part of the Blue Rider group, of which Paul Klee was also in that group of artists, and they pushed color, very far. It was very interesting what they did with it, and it was the dawning of modern art. And I'm linked to those artists by a couple of my teachers, as well as from Swain School. Mr. Feininger was at the Boston Museum School, and at Swain School there was a teacher, David Loeffler Smith, who I had the privilege to study with, who had studied with Hans Hofmann, who is an abstract expressionist, and he also studied with Raphael Sawyer, among others, and was a very strong influence. And he got me interested in an artist named Morandi, who was a brilliant colorist. He painted a lot of still lifes that looked, at a glance, maybe to the untrained eye, it looked like they were just gray. But there was every gray. You were talking about different greens. There was every configuration and of these little objects that he painted that were just wonderful. You kind of got the whole symbolism of whatever these objects could be, whether they're families or whether they're just salt and pepper shakers.
Phenomenal. I'm going to have to look that one up. That's fascinating to me. I love almost the use of one color, basically, in a painting, and yet, you have a splash of aubergine or purple.
Yes, fortunately, the banana tree gave me a purple flower to work with.
I always love this. Is that what it is on the banana tree?
It's the flower.
I didn't know that. That's quite interesting. How do you where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you feel like you would like to develop and try new mediums or different types of artwork? What would you like to do in the future?
That's a great question. I ask myself that question all the time. Well, I would like to keep working with the, the subject matter could change, or evolve. It's hard to say a 5-year jump, what it would look like. Hopefully, that's what happens.
Yes, I guess all of us would like to develop along the way and take on new challenges, possibly.
Right. Sometimes I think about going backwards and going back to oil painting and working smaller and what have you. Just it's different.
Yes, and there's such an interesting art world down here in Florida. I think some people just got into art as a retirement project and are putting out some amazing stuff.
It's true, there are a lot of people who never painted before who are suddenly amazingly prolific and
and selling well and a total branch out.
Right.
We've had people that we have spoken to here who've had very different lifetime careers, such as engineers, and have totally really turned over towards the creativity in the art field and with great success, which is phenomenal, of course. But you've always been in that world pretty much.
I've always been an artist and I've tried to work in that field as best I could, but I haven't always. But I did have the privilege to be an artist in residence for a town in my younger years. And I worked, my first job was with Model Cities in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Oh,
and
exciting. Were you artistic as a child as well?
Seems like right out of the box. I started very young being interested in art.
Was anyone in your family an artist?
My grandfather, my paternal grandfather was a puppeteer.
Oh, fascinating.
And sort of a sideline. And there weren't really anyone that I know of who was an artist per se, but both of my grandmothers were very artistic. And one grandmother was a weaver in a factory. And she might have done some stitching there because I just know that she was just very adept at her Singer sewing machine. And, but also she showed me how to embroider, and I can remember her drawing on the fabric and a bee on a flower or something like that, and she was very good at it. And my other grandmother as well, she had a needlepoint pillows on her couch that were flowers with leaves that were very beautiful.
The things that you're actually drawn to.
Interesting, huh?
Yes, I think so, don't you?
I do.
But very, very warm memories, I think.
Absolutely.
Wonderful introduction into the art world, I think. Are you showing it all at the moment?
I am. I just collected some work from a shop, but I have been in the Venice Island Gallery and the Charlotte Arts Gallery. I'm not there now. And different shows in the area.
Wonderful. I wish you would come and show at the library some point.
Well, actually, I'm scheduled to show for September, October, November, and December.
Ooh, great. That'll be wonderful. I hope we have relaxed our restrictions in the library now, so we have a lot more people coming through. I hope they do a reception for you. That'll be great.
It's great. And I had a show, by the way, at the Lemon Bay Theater. In the lobby. It was called Banana Ex Machina, and the banana trees were featured. But there's a theatrical term, Deus Ex Machina, where when everything looks like it's falling apart,
Yes.
God swoops in and saves the day. And so that was sort of the idea of the show. There were a lot of banana images and leaves and trees.
That's beautiful.
Thank
I like great titles for everything. You know, there's a lot of thought that goes into that, clearly. Can our viewers view more of your art on your website?
Absolutely. My website is carolynwalega.com, and that's, if you don't mind, I'll spell it.
Not at all. No.
CarolynWalega.com.
Okay. And you put a lot of work into the website too. It's very easy to navigate and a really good selection of your work.
Thank you.
I'm so looking forward to your show here. That's
you.
wonderful. Great timing right before the holiday too. It's been a real pleasure chatting
Same
with you
here.
today. Thank you for bringing this beautiful work to show us.
My pleasure.
I can't wait to see what else you have for us.
Thank you. I'll
Enjoy.
get busy and get to work.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
You're
Carolyn.
welcome.
Carolyn's art exhibit, which is coming up in September and will last through the end of December, is sure to be a real treat for all of us. Please come by and visit and possibly meet Carolyn in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.